The truth will break your chains, we have the key. Open your eyes and see. We are the ones who know the answers, and they ain't never gonna hold us back. The sea is rising like we dancers. Imagine life without a purpose. Now picture everything you're fighting for. Now picture everything you're fighting for. Everything you're fighting for.
Okay, this is a renovation job we did it later in the season, closer to Halloween. This is one of the ones that I mat drug. Big corner lot. As you can see here, we're doing pretty good. We've got pretty much uniform germination. We've got a few areas like this here, but this doesn't concern me for two reasons. And this is going to be one of those yards that I put into experimentation mode moving into next year, because I used a Rhizomatous tall fescue. I used 3 varieties of Rhizomatous tall fescue. My goal is to get this fescue to spread and begin to produce rhizomes in such a way that it can fill in areas like this. Now, based on the spacing here, this actually isn't bad. That this will kind of fill in on its own. There's a few other areas where I would normally do some touch-up seeding, like here and there, to get those to fill in the spring. But again, I'm using Rhizomatous tall fescue, so I'm curious to see what I can have done with it. So let me give you a little rundown of how this is going to go. We're going to wrap out the year with ammonium sulfate. Actually, first, let me talk about this. This is kind of the interesting thing I've noticed about using this seed this year, is this does not perform like a normal fescue seed. So typically, fescue seed will come up, you pound it with fertilizer, it matures pretty decently into winter, and then you get your big push in the fall. The interesting thing is this has acted a little more like a bluegrass, where you put it down, it came up really quickly out of the ground, and then it's just kind of hit this lull. And by lull, the plants are just not developing really quickly. And if anybody's ever dealt with bluegrass, you seed bluegrass and it comes up and then it hits this dormant like period where it just sits there and exists, and you can pound it with fertilizer and it just doesn't really do anything. And this fescue is acting very much the same way. I can tell by the leaf size that it just isn't facing a lot of maturation. Let me take you in close and show you exactly what I'm looking at and explain why I'm saying it's acting more like a bluegrass than a true fescue. So if we look here, yeah, we got some plant development taking place, but not a lot. This is the plant development we have so far at this point of the grow-in. I can get the camera to focus. So, you know, we're at a 3 stage here, which is really low for having been down as long as it's been down. The care that it's had, the fertilizer rates that it's had, just not super aggressive. And that's why this is super encouraging to me. I mean, if you look, even the tips of the leaves look more like bluegrass than fescue. That's what has me encouraged about using this and being able to get it spread. I got a little bit of early stages of hairy bittercress coming in here, but application of triclopyr will take that out. So when I look at this and not 100% filled-in coverage, I think this is going to be a great option for me to utilize something high in calcium, high in micronutrient value, and maybe even some DAP, some diammonium phosphate, in conjunction with a humic acid as a delivery tool to try and drive as much tillering as possible. So if I had to review this seed right now, I would probably give it, we'll say like an 8 out of 10. It jumped out of the ground really quickly, but then it's hit this lull. And I'm going to use that lull as a positive and say that is going to be due to the genetic differences in these 3 particular turf grass varieties, these tall fescue varieties, to be more rhizomatous in nature. That a lot of that cell division that takes place is shifted more towards root development now to be able to produce those extra shoots and rhizomes to enhance plant performance as these plants mature. So again, this point moving forward, I see lots of calcium in my future. I see some DAP in my future. I see a lot of micronutrient supplementation and pretty aggressive N rates, especially since these are higher end on the brown patch resistance scale. I will be a little more aggressive on the inputs, knowing that I've got fungicides in my hip pocket to protect it, even though I'm going to be pushing it. And hopefully we can get this to really get going and begin to protect itself. This is going to be something too where I'm just really excited to continue to use RGS as a product on this particular yard because of the amount of kelp in it, keeping these plants young and active shoot growth, shoot development taking place. I'm really excited. So in closing out, I hope everybody enjoyed this and like seeing the result here of what it looks like after that initial work. Just to kind of fill you in on what's been done so far, was an application of Roundup. It was aerated, it was seeded, it was mat drug, and then it was seeded again. We've got down between 8 and 10 pounds per 1,000 of seed on here. We've gotten down 2 pounds of actual nitrogen, 1 pound in the form of urea, 1 pound in the form of ammonium sulfate. And we've got down 2 gallons to the acre of the RGS product so far. And just gauging by what I see right now of the yard, I think this is going to be a perfect test plot for pushing rhizomatous growth out of this rhizomatous tall fescue. So I came to this yard to do a follow-up, but in actuality, now that I see it, it's turning into another experiment. So we'll keep at it. Thanks for watching.